I'd like to call the meeting to order, the regular board meeting for the Greeneview Board of Education for Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Would you call the roll?
Suzanne Arthur.
Here.
Todd Ireland.
Here.
Scott Powers.
Present.
Angela Reagan.
Here.
Teresa Wallace. We have a quorum.
You join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, now we'd like to recognition of invited guests.
No invited guests, Mr. President.
No invited
No,
guests.
that's the presentation.
Okay. Oh. Okay. And where is, oh, okay, after that. Okay, so now we'd like to go to invitation for public participation, and it looks like Amy Ballard.
Oh, that was just for later. If there's discussion, then you don't have a box for the discussion.
Well, it says board policies, and you've got,
I just have a question.
well, go ahead.
I know you're doing the board policy thing tonight. It's just updating like for what, a year or whatever, anything being changed on them as far as wording and stuff. If they are, when will those be available to employee and public people, public to view?
As soon as the board approves them.
They'll be up on the kiosk.
They're on board docs, which is it's on the website. We house all of our policies on board docs as part of when you go to,
Public,
yes, yeah.
or as employee, it'll be under the kiosk.
No, it'll be on board docs. It's all there for anyone, employee or otherwise.
Oh, that's right. That's, never mind. I have it in my head.
And then Tiffany, we've got one other question about board policy.
I mean, that's not, but there's somewhere, I was just gonna listen if there was discussion or if it was,
Okay,
they were gonna be verbalized what they are, since we can't see the board.
okay, yeah, it's just, they come up for us to vote on, and then they become out on the website. Okay. All right. Move on to approve the agenda. Is there any changes?
Just the addendum.
There is an addendum.
Yep, you got it. Got it. Okay.
Items, some additions to item 5.
Yep.
And then on the treasurer's report, and then a couple new business items. There were a couple updates from the agenda that was posted, but I believe they made it on here in personnel. Spelling correction on Carly Cranen, and then the 8th grade advisors got moved down into the unpaid advisor positions.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
All right, Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Todd Ireland,
Yes.
Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Teresa Wallace, and Suzanne Arthur.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
Okay, now we're going to the presentation. We've got the gifted programming grade 5 project.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce Ms. Godlove, and she has 5th graders with her here today. Part of our gifted service model in grades 3 through 6 is that students spend one day in the gifted classroom, and they are working on a specific project that they would like to share with us this evening.
All right.
Thank you for having us. My name is Mrs. Godlove. These are my 5th grade kids is what we call them. But there are gifted kids. Our program is called Kids. It was something that was adopted way back before I came into this position. But the students this year, a project that we are working on, I feel really weird, like I'm talking to both directions. We're working on a tiny house project right now, which is what you can see on the board. I've completed this project and passed with my students, but this year we decided we would add a little bit more depth to it, and we will be designing tiny homes for clients. This project is really engaging and fun, but it also has a lot of connections across disciplines. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. sorry, Davis. Yes, thank you. The students are solving real world problems through this project. They are adding and subtracting mixed numbers, interpreting measurement and scale, and it requires a ton of 21st century skills such as technology, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and much more. So as we go through this project, the students are going to walk you through each step so far to date, and we are not finished. It does take quite a bit of time since I only see them one day a week, but the goal is that we will be able to come back and share our project with you when we're finished. So first up is Elise Weiser.
We started this project with a driving question. Mrs. Godlove posed this question to us and asked us to think about what we need to know in order to answer the question. The question is, how can we design a house for clients taking into consideration budget, personal preferences, and location? As a group, we came up with a list of ideas we believed we needed to know in order to effectively complete the project and answer our driving question. We felt it was important to know the size and measurement of our tiny home, as well as what the budget would be. We talked about the different types of materials they would want, who we would want to design the home for, as well as the types of accessories they may want included in their tiny home.
This is William Stinson.
Some of the other items we felt were important and crucial to know were if the client owned a pet, how many people would be living in the home. We talked about whether or not they would need any accessibility features, such as a ramp or wide door frames, whether our clients wanted a garden, pool, patio, or deck. We also thought it would be important to know what types of rooms they would want, and finally, what the cost of the materials would be.
This is Mackenzie.
After we came up with a list of needs and as we decided of a group of people we'd like to design for, Mrs. Godlove encouraged us to design for a variety of people in our school community. This is our list.
Some of the top cut off.
We came up with a list of questions to ask our clients. This was our first list, our brainstorming. We used our need to knows to help us develop questions and then use these questions to help us design our questionnaire for our clients.
Walk through the process of designing a questionnaire using Google Forms. Many of our teachers use Google Forms for tests and quizzes, so it's interesting to see how they are created and fun learning about them. It was fun learning how to design one ourselves. We narrowed down our initial questions so we could get started on the project right away. If something comes up during the process, we will be communicating with our clients to clarify.
We decided as a group the most efficient way to communicate with our clients was to utilize our school email. This would make it easier to communicate with our clients without having to meet them in person. As a class, we constructed a letter that we would use to introduce ourselves and our project. We copied this into an email and attached a questionnaire to the bottom. Before we could understand how to design an entire tiny home, we took some time to design our dream bedrooms. We used a free platform called Planner 5D. The website allowed us to change colors of walls, add bedrooms and bathrooms, change the shape of our rooms, add accessories, and much more. This gave us an idea of the type of things we would want to ask when working with a client, as well as experience with blueprints.
This is a screenshot of my dream bedroom on Planner 5D. I enjoyed designing this so much that after I designed my bedroom, I went home and designed the rest of the house, including multiple floors, an indoor pool, 2-car garage, kitchen, and much more. Before we could understand what it meant to draw things to scale, Ms. Godlove showed us HL model trains. These model trains are made at a scale of 1 to 87, meaning that the real trains are 87 times larger than the model trains. We talked about how scale is used in multiple design areas such as computers, diagrams of cells, model cars, homes, and much more. Using this knowledge of scaling, we were able to interpret a blueprint for the base of our tiny home.
These are pictures of us interpreting a scale drawing of our tiny house floor. We used the scale drawing to help us identify the measurements of the base structure. Then we drew a final blueprint of the base with the correct measurements. Our final blueprint was the actual size of the object, so the base was 1:1.
Once we interpreted the scale, identified the correct measurements, and drew our final blueprint, we figured out how many 9-inch, 6-inch, and 5.5-inch dowels we needed to construct each base. We worked in assembly line fashion to measure again for good measure, and then cut. The next step was to put together our floor joists. We used hot glue guns and T-squares to help us make perfect 90-degree angles for our corners. We used the measurements on the blueprint to know exactly where to put the framing pieces. After we constructed the floors, we interpreted blueprints for the side walls, made a cut list measurement that we would need to know, and began constructing our side walls. The next step is to work on designs for our front and rear windows.
This was just, and it kind of, sorry, it fell apart in the car. But this is all we have done so far. The students have been working, they have constructed their floor joists, their side walls, and will be working to add the front and back wall. And then we will get to the fun part. But I feel like they've done a really good job so far. I'm super proud of you all. I will say that I had to bribe them a little bit with cookies and PBIS points, but they were all willing to come, and they've been working really hard, and they're excited to do this project. And I think the further along we get into it, the more skills that we'll be able to utilize with communicating with clients. And some of you are our clients, so they're excited about that. So I just really appreciate this opportunity today for them to come and just kind of share what a little bit of our life is like in the gifted class. So thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I told the students they can leave, so if it's okay.
I was going to say, I
Okay,
was
yeah,
going to tell
okay.
everybody right
Thank
now,
you.
anyone that wants to leave there, take this opportunity. Thank you. What's that? That's for the, yeah.
Goodness gracious. Mother that's leaving with the fifth grader is Matthew's age.
Or left.
Okay.
That one mother that's leaving with the fifth grader is Matthew's age.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Oh,
You seem less nervous than me.
they did a great job.
They did for sure.
Very impressive.
How impressive. Uh-huh.
And since I'm an architectural design guy,
Very
I love that stuff.
Very neat.
Future.
Well,
It'd be great
Yeah.
architect out there.
and Miami Trace doesn't even do the gifted program anymore.
Really. Huh.
Years ago, they dropped it, maybe 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Mhm. Super cool.
That's for sure. Okay, let's move on. On to the treasurer's report. 1, approve the minutes from the regular board meeting, October 22nd, 2021. 2, approve the October financial reports. 3, accept the $600 donation from Lindsay Stewart for the drama club. 4, approve the 5-year forecast as presented. 5, approve the following budget and purpose statements. A, principal district-wide activity. B, National Honor Society. C, class of 2023. Student Council High School. E, Soda Club. F, Middle School Principals Fund student. G, Middle School Principals Fund staff. H, High School Principals Fund staff. I, High School Principals Fund students. And J, Middle School Student Council. Air Force there, Jacob.
Yeah, are there any questions before we get to the 5-year forecast presentation?
Kevin.
It's all on one, but we can go after.
I didn't know if you were.
After the presentation.
uh,
Oh,
Oh.
well, there's,
You have it.
As long as it's here.
it's,
Oh,
The-
do you
the
have to
presentation.
move again?
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about.
motion.
motion.
Yeah.
You
Come
may
on,
wanna-
wake up.
Yeah, you may want to turn around.
Oh,
Okay,
boy.
you have the main 5-year forecast there on paper though. Go Okay, so really just reviewing the changes from the last time we had the 5-year forecast. Of course, we moved forward a year, but the real estate values, hitting some of the revenue highlights, are expected to remain pretty steady until the 2023 update. Income tax revenues have increased a lot in the first half of fiscal year 2022. So we're starting to see the rebound from coronavirus as far as income taxes. And we're expecting those increases to at least maintain where they have been for the rest of the year. And you really don't know where your income tax revenue is going to come in until after it comes into the state. And then House Bill 110, the new state funding, is providing a little bit of a net increase in the district's overall state funding. This graph here shows the revenues is the blue, the expenditures is red, and then green is our cash balance. You can see, as we have been doing the past couple of years, our expenditures are outpacing our revenues right now. And then our cash balance doesn't hit the negative until 2026. This is a bar graph. The little orange bar is a 30-day cash balance, which is what the state recommends. We actually like to have a 60-day cash balance. That's just taking our revenues and, dividing it. So to show you, that's what 30 days of our expenditures look like. And then you can see the red bar is our actual cash, and then the yellow bar is minus our encumbrances. So that's the money that we've already said that we're going to spend. So if we have a contract with somebody, it's already encumbered. And then again, you can see we go into the negative at the end of 2026. I'm not sure why this pie graph is the labels worked on mine. It's your silly Apple stuff.
We've Googled it.
That's
why.
Yeah, it's Google. That's the problem. Okay. So the biggest part of our revenues is state our property taxes. Things, and then okay, yeah, the big orange one is what comes in on state foundation. The red one is real estate. So state foundation makes up 45, almost 46% of our revenues, and the general fund, and real estate makes up 27%, and then income tax is close to 16%. So the state's providing about half of our general revenue income, and half of it is coming in locally. A little over half of it's coming in locally. This is our enrollment over the last 10 years. Enrollment, if you go ahead, yeah. So in fiscal year 2012, the enrollment, it was 1392. In fiscal year 21, our enrollment was 1302. So we've lost 90 students in the last 10 years. The way the new state funding works, it is no longer using ADM, which is your average daily membership. You used to basically get punished for poor attendance in your district. Now they're actually just going by the enrollment. So even if students aren't showing up, you're still getting the full funding under this model for those students. We don't have a huge attendance problem here, so it's not as big of an impact here. But I would say sometimes even those students that don't come can be some of the most expensive points to educate. So I think this is a little benefit to the new model. This is the expenditures by category pie chart. Again, unfortunately, the Google pie does not have what these categories are. So the red piece of the pie, that's salaries and subs, particularly vacation. The purple is our benefits. And that's 23%. The wages is 52%. The orange piece of the pie, that's our utilities, tuition, property insurance. And then the little blue piece that you see is materials. We have 2% in yellow, that's our capital assets. And then we have less than about a 1/4% in debt payments, and then less than 1% in other. So our biggest expense is salaries as usual, and then benefits. We've that's been growing. It used to be at 20%, now it's at 23%. I expect by the end of the forecast, benefits will actually be up above 25% of our costs. They're just growing. We got a 5% renewal on our healthcare insurance this year, 5.5% actually, but it's better than what the projections were. Projections were 10% in the future, and means we've been relatively healthy, which is a good thing. But we're still anticipating that 10% growth in benefit costs, at least health insurance. And then this is taking that pie chart that you saw of this year's expenditures and just showing it over time. So again, you can kind of see that blue bar, it's actually growing a little bit, and then there's the salaries as well. One thing that I want to point out with our 5-year forecast is maintaining our tradition as far as unnegotiated contracts. The way that we budget in our 5-year forecast is if we haven't negotiated a contract, we base that on 0% base increases. So base increases, increasing our base salaries for teachers and classified staff, your bus drivers, cooks, custodians, etc. So in our 5-year forecast, until a contract's negotiated, we always plan on 0% base increases, which really isn't what we think, what we want to happen, but that's the way that we build our budget in the 5-year forecast. So this is just a summary. House Bill 110 there was a lot of changes in the state funding plan. We're seeing a little bit more income. It's not significant, but we didn't go backwards. The state has delayed the actual model, so right now we're using simulations that are coming out of Columbus. It eliminates, so it's basically the open enrollment revenues. It's changed where they're showing up in the 5-year forecast. They used to be on line 1.06, and now our open enrollment showing up on either line 1.035 or 1.04.
So the funding's still the same, it's just in a different line. No,
It's
close.
It's close. It's close. Yeah, open enrollment is still a positive thing for school districts. And really what it's helping with is the expense of open enrollment out. So there's less open enrollment out cost to us, but there's and we're getting the revenue for open enrollment in is basically the same.
Okay.
And so long term, we're keeping an eye on the state budgets because the state every year you never really know. Well, every 2 years you never really know what the state's going to decide. That 45% of our revenue that's coming from the state foundation payments could drastically change with the change at the state level. So we have a positive cash balance until 2025. We're fairly positive at the end of 2025, 700,000. And again, that's without negotiations. We know negotiations are coming up this spring. So, we will have to adjust accordingly this spring based on what happens with negotiations. So with the negative at the end of the 5-year forecast, I'm going to say, we got to start talking about when do we want to go for new money. We know that we have the 1% income tax that we passed permanently in the 2020 election. So thank you everybody for that. But if we want to continue to pay our teachers more, if we want to continue to pay our classified staff more, and to be competitive in the area, and also maintain and keep the good staff that we have here. everybody wants to make more money, and everything costs more now. So, you know, thinking about where we want to go and ask for more operating money to pay the staff, the wages, and then to make up for that cost of benefits. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Nothing on that, but on the 5-year forecast, in the future, can you put the negatives in brackets or make them red?
Please.
I will.
It's coming from a banker.
That's a
Okay.
personal.
My eyesight's getting
Oh.
bad.
Brackets or red?
I
Okay,
was thinking
I will take a note on that.
it's very small.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Can't read that.
I was having problems on a couple of those negative signs.
Well,
Let me bring a
the
magnifying.
numbers are very small. Can I have my-
And,
We need an eye doctor appointment.
We're good.
Digital, and then you can blow it up as big as you
I
want.
can, yeah. Smart.
Any questions from out there as well? Anybody? Okay.
Budget for inflation on utility bills already?
There's a budget for increases in like pretty much every expenditure category. I do not know what the percentage that we did on off the top of my head. I'd say
That much budget for this year.
we are actually locked in on our utilities. I want to say I know it's at least like another year. We're part of the Southwest Ohio EPC, so we do lock in rates for a little bit, and then of course part of the problem with that is you lock in rates for a while, and then once your contract's up, they do want to get it back. So a lot of times that's when you see like a rate hike, and then it's locked in again for several years.
I don't know what utilities are. Okay, a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Todd Ireland,
Yes.
Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Suzanne Arthur.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0.
It's been the superintendent's update. 1, the teaching and learning, 2 facilities, and 3 operations.
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. For the teaching and learning portion of tonight's meeting, I really wanted to really honor some of our students at the different levels. High school celebrates students of the quarter. So the student of the quarter for 8th grade was Isaac Lichtke, 9th grade Jordan Thacker, 10th grade Braden Ratliff, 11th grade Ben Myers, and 12th grade Logan England. The middle school celebrates students of the month. So students of the month for September and October: 4th grade September, Jared Jacobs; 5th grade Christian Bingaman; 6th grade Caden Pike; 7th grade Zachary Tackett. In October, 4th grade Bodie Ryan; 5th grade Carson Moore; 6th grade Ruth Palmer; and 7th grade Emma Lovely. And then at the elementary level, actually in our self-contained classrooms, they do a student of the week every week. So just want to give a nod and celebrate or congratulations to all of the, actually they refer to them as the stars of the week in each class. At our Friday administrative meetings, I guess I would just remind you that I do meet with the administrative team, where teaching is always really our first item, keeping that on the dashboard. And I continue to listen and I continue to learn about how we deliver our core instruction. Again, how we're monitoring our skill gaps and addressing the gaps, especially over the last 2 years, and supporting our students social emotionally. From a facility standpoint, we are currently working on the transportation, the tank, and the electric project, and actually had to pull the crew off of the middle school playground installation to prioritize the electric project. They'll return to the middle school playground once they've completed that project. While we're talking about transportation or the bus garage, later in new business, you'll see the agreement with Prodigy for some additional work that we would like to do at the transportation area. REAK continues to right now diagnose and troubleshoot the different pieces, especially associated with our HVAC system at the high school. I know just this week replacing coils, an actuator replacement on the library VAV at the middle school, repairing the domestic water booster pump. At the elementary, measuring piping to check on our CU2s to ensure proper installation. I do know that when it got cold over at the elementary, so that was noted to us this week. So that'll be something we're especially checking into. And we're also replacing the heater in the wrestling room in the field house. Let's see, also completed relatively recently was the elementary project of fixing the catch basins and paving in the parking area at the elementary. I am also currently waiting on estimates to renovations to the field house. And then I'm also waiting on some renderings to understand really what some additional space could look like and what the cost of that could be as well. I anticipate at the beginning of December, I will have more information on what that will be to bring to the board. From an operations standpoint, we currently have 8 positive COVID cases in the district. We're kind of hovering around that number. There was a little bit of a blip in the last 7 to 10 days. But really we've kind of held steady around that 8 number. That's pretty typical. I'm still updating that every day. With the mask to stay policy, students are staying in school as well. Right now we have 8 quarantines. And again, that hovers kind of around that same area, 8 to 10 quarantines. As I've shared also with you, safety and security. I mean, being a new superintendent in the district, this is certainly, a priority item for me. First looking at, the communication plan, what a communication crisis plan looks like, what the individual roles and responsibilities in the district would be for administrators, teachers, and other staff. And then right now we're really focusing in on individual, what would be crisis situations and what the procedures would be in each of those pieces. That will take some time to do, but that's the next phase, so to speak, looking at each individual crisis situation and what that would look like in practicality. Again, that'll take some time, but we're well on our way with, I think, a comprehensive crisis plan outside of our, kind of like ODE required plan, if you will. And I guess just to close out, I'd like to congratulate our returning board members. And I would also like to congratulate Ms. Smith, who will be joining the table at the first of the year. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, we're going to move to new business. Approve the agreement with Prodigy for transportation project. 2, approve the following clubs for 2021-22 school year at Greeneview High School. The Bass Fishing Club, Supervisor Kyle Falk. 3, approve the following updated board policies. 5408 academic acceleration, early entrance to kindergarten and early high school graduation. 0169.1 public participation at board meetings. 1530 evaluation of principals and other administrators. 1617 and 3217 and 4217 weapons. 2271 college credit plus program. 5111 eligibility of resident and non-resident students. 5111.02 educational opportunity for military children. 5200 attendance. 5350 student mental health and suicide prevention. 5464 early graduation. 5516 student hazing. 5630.01 positive behavior intervention and supports and limited use of restraint and seclusion. 6114 cost principles, spending federal funds. 7300 disposition of real property / personal property. 7450 property inventory. 8330 student records. 8400 school safety. 8462 student abuse and neglect. 8600 transportation. 8651 non-routine use of school buses, and 8740 bonding. And 4, approve the MOU for reserve bus driver for the 2021-22 school year. And 5, approve the district's compliance with nutrition standards. Motion.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just want to clarify, a lot of these are the same as what we have at the Career Center. Are they just language changes? And it's done, is it twice a year, once a year?
Twice a year.
Twice, okay.
Mhm.
I know that ever so often we get a really long list and I listened to them last night and we have them again tonight, so I know.
This
they're-
is a heavy lift. There are a lot. I would if, because of the questions at the beginning or at the top of the meeting regarding transportation, most of it is in response to non-public and community schools, House Bill 110, updated provisions for them. They have until April 1st to notify us of their start and end times. So most of that is regarding the community and the non-pubs, as well as there were changes to the payment in lieu of transportation. School districts must make a determination about payment in lieu no later than 30 days before the start of school, or 14 calendar days if the student is enrolled later. And then there was some portions of the bill that updated to, we can deliver students no sooner than 30 minutes prior to the start of school and pick them up no later than 30 minutes after school. Again, but most of that was for the non-pubs and community schools. And then, yes, the rest of it, there's language updates. So, I mean, if you had one in particular, I've got a cheat sheet here. But most of it, yeah, updates, and nothing glaring sticks out to me from my perspective, unless you had specific questions.
The only question I had was on the Prodigy. I've noticed that they're reusing the electrical service there off of the old board that was set up for that original trailer. I'm sure the experts looked at it, but because of my field and everything, I know that's something that, you know, it could cause you a problem down the road. So it's just something to be aware of.
Okay.
I know that that's been one of the big holdups on our current project is that electrical board.
Yep.
The whole bus garage.
Yes.
But one of the things that they looked at is that right now our board is actually bigger than what we need. So I'm hoping, you know, I'm assuming that they know the problems that we've had with Greene County.
And that's kind of where I was going. If they were trying to circumvent having another inspection or something like that, but they were calling that they were assuming that the wires and things like that were
the
you know,
yeah, the inspection and
it's just
passing the
something I just want to
drawings
bring
to
up to
Green
kind of
County is
think,
one of
you
the-
know, be thinking about.
is one of the things that they actually covered in here is getting the drawings passed
Yes.
through Greene County.
Yep.
Which we know if it passes Greene County, it's good to go to the moon.
Yeah.
Mr. President, if I could to approve the MOU for the reserve bus driver, and just because I feel like there might be an invested interest in the room. The MOU, so that would bring one new employee into the classified bargaining unit. And essentially that person's responsibility would be to cover, would we have any absent bus drivers? So obviously we're among everyone who is trying to find subs for drivers. And we believe outside of a sub position, this incentivizes it a little more. They can be added to the step system. They're guaranteed a minimum of 20 hours. But again, same requirements, same job description. You know, at the end of this year, we can kind of take a second look at this, but our hope is that, again, it incentivizes, you know, drivers to want to help us out. So we're adding essentially a new position. Just to give you some numbers, well, actually, I believe on Monday, we were short 3 drivers and even had to split students up among buses. So last week, we needed a sub 8 times. The week before that, 5. The week before that, 5. The week before that, 5. So we're hoping that this will help, again, attract, as we're all trying to find ways to attract drivers to fill those spots when we need them.
Sounds good. Thanks for clarification. Any other questions? If none, call the roll.
Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Todd Ireland,
Yes.
Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Van Arthur,
Yes.
motion passed 4-0.
Let's move on to personnel. Approve the dock and pay for Abby Lucas, October 28th to November 5th, 2021, for a total of 7 days. Approve the dock and pay for Lucinda Wilson, November 4th, 5th, and 8th for a family event. Approve the dock and pay for Kristen Guest, November 23rd, 2021, for a family event. Approve 20 Good Bar bus driver, step 1, effective October 20th, 2021, 1-year limited year contract for 2021-2022 school year. Approve Bonnie Hildebrand, 4-hour custodian, middle school, step 1, effective October 25th, 2021, 1-year limited year contract for the 2021-22 school year. Approve the following classified substitutes for 21-22 school year. Kathy Arizman, substitute teacher contingent upon proper certification. Cassidy Wisecup, substitute teacher. Penny Van Tress, cook. 7, approve the following high school supplemental positions for the 21-22 school year. Paul Thompson, senior class advisor. Molly Bean, junior class advisor. Carly Crayon, sophomore class advisor. Sarah Juhant, freshman class advisor. 8th grade advisor, Amy Geringer, David Smith. Teresa Geringer, high school yearbook advisor. Daniel Klusterman, student council. Teresa Hoyle, National Honor Society. It's like 1/3. Paul Thompson, National Honor Society, a 1/3. And Chris Robin, National Honor Society, a 1/3. Brittany DeWitt, fall play director. Rick Gonzalez, spring play director. Tom Burr, quick recall. Alan Rowland, quick recall assistant. Marching band director, Mike Bush. Mike Bush, pep band director. Mike Bush, concert band director. Rick Gonzalez, concert choir. Rick Gonzalez, sensations. Brenda Willett, music department administrative assistant. 8, approve the following unpaid advisor positions for the 21-22 school year. Debbie Clark, Soda Club. Doug Wickline, FFA advisor. Amy Evans, Hope. Robin Sweet, Green Club. 8th grade advisor, Amy Geringer, and David Smith. 9, approve the following as needed stipend positions for the 21-22 school year. Saturday school monitor, Brittany DeWitt, Beth Arthur, Tom Burr, Brenda Willett. After school tutoring, Tom Burr, Paul Thompson, Robin Sweet, Daniel Klusterman. AM detention monitor, Brenda Willett. PM detention monitor, Brenda Willett. Parking lot monitor, Brenda Willett. PM bus duty, Jessica Bryant. 10, approve the following supplemental middle school contracts for the 21-22 school year. Power of the Pen, Carolyn Jones, Amy Engel. Student council, Jake Williams. Yearbook advisor, Lori Boland. Detention monitor, Amanda Hollingsworth. Homework help, Della Wydell, Regina Heim. Middle school athletic director assistant, Kelly Fife. 11, approve the following volunteer supplemental positions for winter, spring 21-22 school year. Mark Altos, bowling assistant coach. 12, rescind the contract for Dylan Lahote, high school boys basketball.
Just a couple corrections that I should have had. On number 7, 8th grade advisor Amy Geringer and David Smith, that should be struck from the supplemental positions. It is on the unpaid advisor positions on 8. And then on number 10, under power of the pen, Carolyn Jones and Amy Engel, those are both 0.5. They're half the position. So 0.5 FTE.
Okay. Thanks for clarification. Do you have a motion?
I'll move.
A second.
Any other discussion or any questions?
Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Todd Ireland,
Yes.
Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Suzanne Arthur,
Same.
motion passed 3-0.
Okay. We're going into discussion only. No items.
I want to have a discussion. May I interject?
Yeah.
Yes, you
It'll
may.
take 2 seconds. I promise.
Okay.
For all you people that are kind enough to stay, if any of you came to the Career Center open house last week, thank you for coming. We had a remarkable showing and we are super proud. And I'm very glad that a lot of stuff didn't show up on the news because you guys missed a lot of good stuff. Second, December 1st is registration. We start taking applications for next year's students to come to the Career Center. So that was my terrible ploy at suggesting that people pay attention at the Career Center. That's all I have.
I have a question about that.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that they open house happening, building and having.
Yeah, so it should have actually happened last year in August. And they will do, we have the student days, the student awareness days, 3 days in December. And then we have another open house in January for community and potential students. And then they will try to do another one annually each year. But this was supposed to take place when we opened the new building. So it's got pushed back for a long time.
Yeah.
Did you have a question too?
No.
Oh, you're just. It's good. There's food trucks.
Yep.
I've got one thing as well. Mr. Esau asked about the budgeting for utilities. So that's part of our purchase services. All purchase services, we budgeted for 2% or less, except utilities. Utilities, we budgeted for 4%. Again, we're part of that consortium, so you get quite a break on our utilities, but that is one of our higher cost purchase services as far as going up.
Okay. So we are at the comment and question section now. Does anybody have any questions of items that we discussed this evening?
Last chance.
If none, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move.
Put it right in there.
When you guys talked about the open enrollment, how our open enrollment is down, could it possibly go up? We started providing transportation for these open enrollment again,
It was enrollment was down.
the open enrollment?
No, enrollment.
Regular- but
Total enrollment.
Open enrollment also down to what it
Um,
was?
No, I think. we've
During-
been
yeah,
good there for-
During COVID, there were restrictions last year. I don't know I think we may have, did we stick with those this year or no? Did we open enrollment back up? I know we limited open enrollment last year during COVID because we were trying to limit our
Oh,
numbers.
I'm sorry, I don't know last year.
But
And we
as for,
still have open enrollment, but we don't provide the transportation anymore.
it's very untraditional to provide transportation.
You were providing it within the district. Yeah, that's one thing that I keep coming to listen to. That's not my only concern by far.
But if people, are people in the district open enrolled?
So what I have, yeah,
People out of district that are open enrolled.
Right.
Right.
And
She's
we-
talking about taking them to a
It was your
point
dad-
within the
your dad's
district.
house, right? Is that the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was going to have her kids get picked up at her father's
I
house.
say.
So they're open enrolled.
Before COVID. COVID happened, we had to restrict how many were on the buses. Okay. But it's
I
not been
see.
like that. Yeah, we would have kids that, and the parents would drive them into the district. And literally the bus stop would be at like an intersection in our district. Or wherever the bus was turning around or something. Wherever the bus would come into that. There's different.
20 years ago. that
Yeah,
was
you got
happening.
babysitters, you got family members. We don't do that now. So.
Yeah. I see. I understand.
Mhm.
Take that.
Thank you.
Question that wasn't, was waiting to see. Just wanted to know, freshman boys basketball team doesn't have a coach. Okay, the head coach is the coach for the freshmen. Freshman kids practice the same as varsity and JV, but they have 11 games. The JV has 22 and the varsity has 26. You are having kids that are not feeling appreciated, not feeling like, why am I here? When my older son, they were begging him to play when his freshman year because they didn't have enough kids. Well, you have 8 kids that are on the freshman team and you have no coach for them. The head coach splits his way and they were told the reason you don't have more games than 11 is because there's no one there to be your coach. And I don't understand as a district, we have daddy ball up until their 7th and 8th graders. There has to be somebody and actually that would volunteer. I know nothing about basketball, so I would not be that person. But I'm sure there's someone out there, if we put it out there, that would have been more than happy to follow the head coach's guidelines.
Why?
And I wonder how many other
I just have
sports
a
programs
question.
have that.
Clarification. Why is there a freshman and a JV and a varsity team?
There-
Is that always how it's
There's
been?
always-
I mean, from where I grew up, there was JV and there was varsity. There were only two.
Yeah, there's always
Okay, see,
been.
that's, I didn't know
I
that.
mean, where I grew up, there was a freshman football team, a JV team, and
Yeah.
a varsity team.
It just
Yeah.
depends on what your numbers are in the district.
Right, because I know with soccer, we had a hard time just getting a JV team together, so we never had just a freshman team, right?
Right, but basketball, you're on.
Basketball.
5, yeah, okay, I got it, sorry.
So that's first we've heard of it.
Coaches are hard to come by. but-
Coaches are really hard to find.
The coach that we just,
I mean, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I get that, but there's plenty of people in the community, if it was put out there, I believe would have bounced back, not like the crossing guard problem.
Well,
I believe with the football coaching,
I don't have one.
or, you know, they have prep look coaches. I'm sure they could do the same thing for basketball. Or former students, like that's what the JV coach is a former student. So, you know, they know the program, and lots of them go to school locally.
talk to Mark.
That's a Mark Reinhardt question. So.
Yeah, I asked that question of Mark Reinhardt at the boosters meeting and got, well, that's the way the coach wants it. Well, if it affects the kids, I don't care what a coach wants. I want unity. I want the board to support the kids. I don't care what an adult wants. If they're an adult, they have to learn to be upset about what comes out of taking the job.
We'll check it out.
Yep, sure will.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second.
All right, Angela Reagan,
yes.
Todd Ireland,
Yes.
Powers,
Yeah.
Suzanne Arthur.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-0. We are adjourned at
So you go.
7:53.
Oh, sorry. Judy Dan.
She's
Yeah.
He's putting words in the Kyle Folks' mouth. I'm real concerned about that. And to me, high